Right, good evening everybody. This is the first podcast of the Carlisle Cult Cinema Club. And today who are going to be joining us regularly are Carlisle Robertson from BBC Radio Cumbria.
Hello.
Paul Robinson, old friend, big movie fan. Say hello, Paul.
How are you doing? You okay?
And Andrew Waugh, another old friend, known him for a long time, big movie fan again. And myself, Paul Donaldson. And we're going to be hopefully doing this once a month, talking about films that we're going to be showing at the Carlisle Cult Cinema Club and other bits and bobs that we like in movies. Each month we're going to try and shake things up and do things a bit different. And to start with this month, we're going to be talking about Long Good Friday, Scum and Dog Soldiers. And then a little bit at the end about what the Carlisle Cult Cinema Club are doing going on through the rest of the year with the likes of Teen Wolf, Halloween, Life of Brian, Christmas Vacation and Flash Gordon. So we'll kick things off a little bit about the Long Good Friday. So if you don't know, Long Good Friday, early 80s movie, Bob Hoskins as Harold Shand, Helen Mirren as his other half, Victoria, and Harold Shand's a gangster who's doing a deal with the mafia, basically, to bring prosperity to the Docklands, pure Thatcherism. So, brilliant movie of its time, still to this day, well, to be fair, best British gangster movie ever made, without a doubt. And it's up there with some of the best British films ever made, I've got to say. What's everybody else?
Yeah, loved it. I mean, classic gangster film. Even for Bob Hoskins wearing every single colour of beige when he's walking through the airport. It's amazing.
Well, don't forget the soundtrack.
Yeah, soundtrack. Fantastic.
The soundtrack's brilliant. Been on repeat since I watched it. I only watched it for the first time the other week, and the soundtrack's on my Spotify playlist regularly now.
Oh, it's a great soundtrack, you know what I mean? Absolutely fantastic.
It's got like kind of jazz elements, and along with this kind of late 70s, 80s synth sound, it's really, really catchy as well. Just, so much to it.
I know it is. It's absolutely fantastic. Again, it's got that synthy bit, and yeah, it's of its time when there was so many great soundtracks coming out with some, by some great guys and all the rest of it. But Long Good Friday, what a movie!
Especially just to look out for like massive tenors and massive fivers.
Yeah,
just like gives that guy 5 minutes about that big.
Yeah, about the size of about an A3 piece of paper. And don't forget also in it you had the likes of Charlie from Casualty.
Doing actual acting where he doesn't like. When he looks at people, because in Casualty he'll just go and get a girl, please. And obviously Denzel from Only Fools. Well, my thing with my memories with Long Good Friday is we watched it when I was about, I would say 8, my brother was maybe 5. Watched it on an afternoon. My mum and dad watched it with that and American Werewolf in London.
Brilliant.
Scarred my brother for life.
Superb!
With American Werewolf, and that was the only thing I remember was Denzel getting his arse slashed.
When it's right across, like, whoa, no.
That was one of the things that I suppose I was trying to say, Denzel. Have you noticed the link between this and one of the other films we're watching? Because on Scum, you've got Mickey Pearce.
Oh yeah.
Denzel in this one. So when I watched Dog Soldiers, I was waiting for Nicholas Lyndhurst to turn up.
A bit of a Only Fools connection there. Very true.
What you can definitely see though is what a loss Bob Hoskins is.
Oh, completely.
And when he passed away, we saw many clips of Roger Rabbit, my personal favourite, Super Mario Brothers.
Oh. Terribly great.
But I think it's easy to forget he was such a fine, gritty, terrifying actor.
Oh, I mean, in that role especially as Harold Shand, he's like an animal. He prowls that film. You know, you see that. You know what I mean? You think at one point he's just gonna, and he does. You know what I mean? Obviously he does, but you can see he's holding back. And I mean, it was his first kind of big role as well. Long Good Friday. I mean, he'd done TV and a lot of theatre and stuff like that. And but again, the kind of, when you look at the comparisons with the original kind of 30s, 40s gangster movies.
Oh, yeah.
With
the Mafia as well. That was what he was aspiring to.
And that line, the Mafia, shit him. That is just brilliant line. I love that. You know what I mean? Love it. And I've said that about somebody else that so says trying to steal the idea of this whole thing that we're doing. I've shit him, basically. But there we go.
It's quotes are one of the big great things about it. You can't go crucifying people outside a church. Not on Good Friday.
That's it. Yeah. Verbals are frostbites. You know what I mean? Absolutely brilliant.
The Raspberry Ripple one.
It's just that. It's just such a good. It's one of those. It's a perfect storm, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything that was going on at the time, the whole Thatcherism starting to come up, and that film does massively.
Yeah.
You know, that whole...
He's a Thatcherite.
Yeah, completely. You know, we're going to take what we want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've got the money. We want the money. We want it now.
The speech on that boat is kind of could have been anybody.
Yeah, hands across the ocean. Yeah. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. But again, you know, the whole... gone from my head now. It was there a minute ago, but, you know, as these things when you're chuntering on.
It predicts a lot of things, doesn't it? Like, because you talk about the EU and stuff.
About being Europe and all. Yeah,
part of the common market now, so we don't need the Americans anymore.
Exactly.
And also the Olympics. They talk about and that was before London put a bid in
for the Olympics. Quite
prophecised. It's some weird prophecies on there.
But the other thing I liked about it as well, it showed London, but not London like you see in 99% of the films where it's all, you know, the landmarks. It showed really one landmark, and that was the bridge, and that was the hands across the oceans. You know, but it kind of, and it was good. Yeah, you seen what dirty London, basically, grimy, the underworld. And that was the other thing. The British gangsters loved it, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh God.
And some of them were in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Some of them were in it. And then you got the brick top from.
I didn't recognise him.
It's just so young in it when you look, and it's like, what the hell?
From Snatch.
From Snatch, brick top is he's just in the background. He doesn't. I don't think he actually says anything. I can't think, anyways. And then you've got like Carl Howman in there.
Yeah.
You know, frigging, and the guy who I used to, as a youngster, always got mixed up with Carl Howman, who's a bit of Harold Shand's right hand man. Do you know the one I mean?
Yeah.
And I can't remember his name, but I always got them two mixed up. But how young does Carl? Long before Brushstrokes.
Absolutely.
Oh, was that Jacko?
Yeah.
Jacko.
Yeah, Jacko from Brushstrokes, which was
I'm surprised I picked him out. I saw is that IMDb out? It's
just have a quick check on that.
I mean, how do you feel the now considered sort of the modern gangster films compare? Like, how do your Guy Ritchie's compare with?
Stole completely everything from that movie.
Guy Ritchie wouldn't have happened if it wasn't.
No, that film has just every British gangster movie that's came after it owes to that one film. Completely.
It's down to the speech. I think even gangsters now would use those that rhythm that Harold Shand talks. It's just it's just the and not a lot of them will give it the credit. Yeah.
A lot of the bigger directors, your Guy Ritchies and all that, give it the credit, but some of them don't, you know, at all. Especially some of these ones who are knocking out the usual kind of Danny Dyer stuff, and you know.
Sure.
Mind you, some of them are quite good, the Danny Dyer stuff as well. Vendetta's last one's an excellent film, worth watching if you haven't seen it.
What was it? Nick Park, was it? Or is that
Nick Love?
Nick Love.
Nick Park. What's it coming to Danny Dyer? That would be brilliant. Oh, you slag!
I would watch that.
Said Gromit.
I would watch that.
It's bound to be on YouTube somewhere.
I think if it isn't, it has to be now, doesn't it?
Well, they did a Pingu version of the thing, didn't they?
That's brilliant. I sent it to Caroline.
Inspired.
That is brilliant. The Pingu thing, mind you. But so back to obviously the Long Good Friday. Because we do, and which is good. We should go off into tangents as well, which fantastic. But yeah, I mean, just everything. A lot of the kind of young actors who were coming up in it.
Yeah.
Helen Mirren, I mean, let's not forget, she was fantastic in it.
She had a much smaller part originally. She
was supposed to just be the usual gangster's moll.
Yeah.
And then she just says, well, no, I want to be a bit sharper than that. But they kind of played on it. There was a lot of stuff based on real life gangsters, because there was a gangster who was, went out with, who's a friend of Princess Margaret's.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, you know what I mean? So there's stole bits from that, which was very of the time. And so, because obviously, I mean, there was gangsters going out with the likes of Barbara Windsor and all that. They wanted that legitimacy. In real life, they wanted that legitimacy.
The craze, exactly.
Yeah.
Celebrities.
Well, that's it. I mean, there was that was the thing. I mean, the craze originally had tried to get the mafia involved. Couldn't get a visa. The mafia guys couldn't get a visa, so it never happened. That's why in the film, you've got him talking to the counsellor and saying, make sure the visas are sorted for our American friends. That's just because the craze in real life had a go, and you're just like, that's a fantastic little point of reference. Who thinks of that?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah. The only thing I found of it though is I found the beginning. I didn't understand it with Belloc from Raiders of the Lost Ark. No way he got what happens to him. But I didn't. I always found I had to go back and watch it. I had to go back and watch it.
But it's all connected.
Oh, I get it now.
Yeah, it's all to do with the whole Irish thing that Charlie Boy from Casualty had set up.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's spoilers. There's going to be spoilers in this talk, because the film's on we're showing the film on the 12th of October. My birthday, people, by the way. 12th of October was shown. We're having the Great British Cult Weekender.
Yeah.
And 12th of October was showing this glorious film, Long Good Friday, and then followed by the next night, Scum and Dog Soldiers, which we'll be obviously talking about here tonight. The
guy from Pirates of the Caribbean, was it? Who picked up in the bar.
That's it. That's it. But he's a good. Kevin McAnally, is it? He's called Kevin McAnally, yeah. Piers Brosnan, for crying out loud.
With his real teeth.
And he doesn't speak.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Gets followed into the shower. Stab. You know what I mean? Brilliant.
In the making of as well, he says that he'd never even shared a scene with Bob Hoskins.
Yeah.
It was like, or just Cameron.
Because that was something I heard, like the last scene, obviously it's spoilers, but in the last scene when Bob Hoskins gets into the car, and he's just sitting there for about 5 minutes and he's just focusing on his face, apparently the director was just driving the car and like barking orders at him. He's like, now you're thinking that who are these people, how they got hold of me, so you look angry, and then after that you're contemplative now because you realise you've been caught, so now you've got to look remorseful. And he's barking his orders, and that's why the music's so loud at the ending, because it's covering up the director barking all these things at him. On the original point, Pierce Brosnan wasn't even in the car. The director was sitting where he was sitting.
That's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, there's been so many films like that where two actors just, even though it looks like a sharing the scene, they're really not, because sometimes they couldn't fucking stand each other.
Yeah.
You know. But no, I mean, again, Long Good Friday owes a lot to a little few things that came forward, like the Sweeney.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If you look at how the Sweeney was filmed, especially the Sweeney films that came just before the Long Good Friday, there's that. It definitely shares a kind of look. You know, the grittiness, the griminess of it all. You know, all you're really missing is John Ford going, "You slag, we're the Sweeney, we haven't had our dinner." You know, so but no, so there's a little bit about Long Good Friday, which, as I say, was shown, and fantastic film. Everybody should
enjoy it.
Come and see it, because you're not going to get a chance to see it on the big screen. Really, it's one of those films.
There was one more little interesting bit of trivia I had just.
Oh yeah, go on.
I just read about it the other day. Apparently, originally the finances were going to can it, just put it on TV, and they wanted to get rid of all references to the IRA.
Oh my God!
They wanted to dub Bob Hoskins with another actor, and the actor was from Wolverhampton, so he had a broad Midlands accent.
Nice.
For the American audience. So no reference to the IRA, no violence, and a Wolverhampton accent over Bob Hoskins.
Wolverhampton accent.
But basically, Bob Hoskins threatened to sue. And I think a couple of like big actors at the time, I'm sure it was like Richard Burton and like Alec Guinness or someone like that. both said that they would support him, and they managed to get it back off them, and Handmade Films bought it off them and released it.
Absolutely fantastic. But also, the soundtrack was changed from English to America. They changed the soundtrack, and they had to put subtitles when it was sent over to the States, and they changed it like stuff like Geezer. Just didn't understand.
They don't have that word.
No, they don't. So just certain little things would change, just so the Americans would understand it, and the actors went back in and re-recorded.
But the way the Americans do gangster films is so different.
Completely.
British gangster is its own genre.
Very much so. Without a doubt, it's big. It's different. And I think that's why it kind of gives that, that whole boy from Stepney Green, boy from New Jersey. There is that kind of difference. There's supposed to be a different actor to play the American gangster originally as well.
Right.
It came over. They'd picked him. They'd signed him up for the role. It came over because there'd been a little bit of a script rewrite. He got back on the plane and went back to America. And they were like, "What we're gonna do?"
Yeah.
So they ended up getting that guy in who they got. I can't think of his bloody name. And he'd been in like Alphaville and stuff like that. And they had to get him to speak with an American accent because he'd been living in France. And
I was wondering if he was American when I was listening to it. Like it was a pretty good accent, but there's a
few little bits. They changed the soundtrack, and he was a bit thing. So we'll finish off the bit about we'll finish off the bit about the Long Good Friday. I'll play the theme to the song, to the film. Sorry. So I'll just get that queued up, and I think that's.
What's his name?
Right, so we're coming out of listening to the theme from the Long Good Friday, and we're going to start talking about Alan Clark's Scum, which was made for the BBC as a kind of play for the day type thing, and was banned without it even being shown. Didn't get shown on TV till the 90s. So Scum, obviously one of the most controversial films of the 80s, even though it was made in the late 70s, it was the VHS era where people had it ready access to it, and it became, God, I can remember it around the schoolyard and, the potting shed and stuff like that. But yeah, it was of the time, the 80s, so brilliant film, Scum, and Ray Winstone's kind of breakthrough role with the original. To be fair, he'd been in episodes of the Sweeney again. You see, I think everybody was in the Sweeney who was a London accent at the time. I take it we've all seen Scum at some period of our lives. It's a hard-hitting film in parts.
Absolutely. One part in particular.
One part in particular, but it was showing what was going on.
Yeah.
I mean, the Borstal system got, I think it was about 82, 83, maybe 84. They kind of kicked it into touch.
The fact that a film can have that impact, that they re-evaluated the Borstal system after seeing this, because the point is, there's no rehabilitation, and this is still topical now, of course, in prison. But Borstal, there was no effort to help the lads.
No,
it's punishment rather than rehabilitation.
Yeah, they treat them like dirt, and that was, I mean, I've spoke to your friends and my dad's, and who've been to Borstal, and they said it was basically exactly what you've seen in that film.
Really,
was how it was in real life. It wasn't too far from the truth. There was, they treat them just like dirt. They weren't given a chance, and you could see that like some of them were according to the film, and supposedly the film was as true as they can get it, some of them were quite clever guys, like what I mean?
Archie, try and play them at their own game,
exactly, and he did, but it was the rebel that everybody, that rebel was in every kind of film of that era.
When the support now, but back in the 70s or whatever, when you came out there, you were done.
Yeah,
you wouldn't get a job.
You were completely finished.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, obviously, originally, he was going to be a Glaswegian, Carlisle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they'd seen Ray Winstone.
Yeah, that was perfect. Anyone else but Ray Winstone.
Yeah. So it was where he walked.
Yeah.
Right. Just got that walk.
Yeah.
And Alan Clark went.
Really?
Yeah.
Walk of the daddy.
Yeah. The walk of the daddy.
Yeah. For me, the grim is the word.
Yeah.
But the most harrowing bit for me, apart from the obvious rape scene, is actually when they plant Davis. They plant Davis with the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And it's the hell of not being believed when he says, "No, I didn't steal it." That to me is the most upsetting. That is gut-wrenchingly upsetting to me. And no matter what he said, he was going to lose.
Yeah, because every single one of them were seen as liars.
Oh.
Yeah. They were just, no matter... They could have went in... Because sometimes they did. They went in for the pettiest of things. They were sent to these correctional institutions to get an education or whatever, because they were seen as unruly. And some of them were pathetic things they'd done in real life to get... And then that was it. They were criminals for life.
Made examples of, absolutely. Well, speaking as a BBC employee, and obviously that was excellent. You should listen to my radio show. It's very good on BBC Radio Cumbria. Joking aside,
no, Caroline does Caroline is on BBC Radio Cumbria weekdays 2 till 5. She has a very excellent show which Carlisle Cult Cinema Club do once a month. We do our little part. We do, and it's fantastic.
What the BBC has a history of doing is banning things. And what happens when you ban something? It becomes more popular.
Of course it does.
The most famous example is Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Exactly.
We banned that, and it was number one. So with this, I mean, Scum, saying that, you can see why this was banned, for sure. But look at what happened.
Yeah.
Cult classic, and then, as it had an effect on the actual Borstal system.
Of course it did. It did, because people got to actually... Because it was... Because folk who'd been in that system and seen the film came out and went, this is exactly what it's like. And folk were like, shit. Yeah. Because it was all covered up. There was no media like there is now covering everything. Everything was covered up and hidden. Sure. Nobody got to find out these things properly until, decades and decades later. And they look back and go, whoa. But it went on. It's in like every walk of life.
Cafe Come Home, very rarely do, but do movies actually change the political landscape? Yeah. And Scum did that, and that's kind of massive, isn't it?
Yeah, completely. And it's such a, and again, a hotbed of brilliant young English talent.
All over the place.
Just about every young actor in there went off and made the mark on whatever they went and done, and are still known to this day.
Yeah.
you know, more, I think at least 50% of the cast, 60% of the cast, you know, from other things. Only Fools and Horses again.
Yes, exactly.
So
the cat out of Red Dwarf. John
Jones. That's
Phil
it.
Daniels.
Phil Daniels. That snooker ball scene. Do you know the snooker ball scene? Because it was all kind of done in one take.
I was do
you know when he drops it?
Yeah.
He's handed a one with ping pong balls.
Oh wow.
Which is just slightly out of sync, out of thing, and then he really clocks him. And Phil Daniels said it hurt. And that's just like, that's mental. That hurts.
But you can see how it's almost like they didn't know what was going on, like the actors, because they looked so scared when they were when it was all kicking off.
You can feel the tension in their roles. And
look what else Alan Clark went and done The Firm with Gary Oldman. What a film that is. You know, I think probably the best football kind of hooligan film out there. It was the daddy
opened the lid of oh my god, they're not all just they're all casual scene.
That whole and you can remember the BCF and that in Carlisle, all wearing the casual gear and that, and looking because of that film, looking identical to them. You know what I mean? But Alan Clark, he was done some fantastic things.
Well, I watched the remake of that and immediately went out and bought a Sergio Tacchini.
There you go. And the remake, that was Nick Love who done the Firm remake, and it was all right, but it wasn't The Firm.
No, the original's generally best. But I did enjoy them both.
Teddy Sue, Pat out of Grange Hill and that, man. You know what I mean? Brilliant, absolutely fun. Again, a lot of iconic British actors in there. But Alan Clark, Gary Oldman, look what he went on to do.
I think,
but even down to like the locations for Scum, because that's the thing that kind of freaks me out a little bit. Because growing up in the late 70s, going to school, that looked like my school. You know what I mean?
Harvey Sec looked
really,
grim.
Just
you know, dark classrooms, just stone and paint. And nothing much more than drabness.
Paint as well, because emulsion.
Lead paint. Lead windows with bits picked out where kids had a snack.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? No wonder everyone was nuts.
All the illnesses.
That's it.
But like I said, it's the living hell of not being believed that really scared me. What do you think of Archer, though? Obviously, I'm a little bit in love with him. And Mick Ford, so he was one of the actors who changed from the series, I believe.
He was a different actor, played him in
or someone like
that. No, it was
from the
Shameless.
That's right.
Was it David Freffel, I think you pronounce it?
Talking about him, has anybody ever seen the TV show Nightingales?
Yes, I love that. With Susan Smith.
Have you never seen Nightingales?
Nightingales as well.
The songs.
Sung by Robert Lindsay.
It's brilliant. Well, they do the Nightingale sang in Berkeley Square, and but it's so surreal. I guess in a way very Bush-like, but way before the Bush.
Here but us chickens.
Nobody. And the werewolf episode and the pirate episode, and but we're going off on a tangent.
Werewolves, though, we'll come to them later.
Yes, we have got a thing about werewolves.
Segue.
Alan Clark, a bit of a masterstroke. I think you need Archer because it's a much desperately needed kind of comic relief, or sometimes.
Everything else that's going on.
Because he's a lot. Archer's like the lightness of it all.
He is. He's eloquent. He's the intellectual who's found himself in Borstal with.
Probably, and I can't remember what he went in for because it's a few years since I watched Scum because we've shown it on. This is recorded before we've shown the film, and I want to be quite nice and fresh again for watching the film. So a lot of this is from. Few years memory and a bit of reading.
It wasn't anything too. I can't remember exactly, but it wasn't anything too harsh.
No. You're right. Often the smallest.
The smallest things would lead them.
Oh, that was it. And Carlin, he took the rap for his brother. That's why he was in it. So he was even a good guy, And
but he was a hard man.
Then he assaulted.
Where's your tool?
Beat up a screw.
Beat up a screw in one of his previous Borstals. Well, I've none of that in here, Carlin.
But in the TV...
4737, Carlin!
In the TV, in the play, it's more of like, because Carlin gets a missus in jail. So it's a little bit... You can see why that was banned as well at the time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's change.
I'm not gay, but he's got some young lad that just sits in his
Yeah,
so it looks pretty.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But that went on, you know what I mean? You got a pretty mouth.
Yeah.
Put this lipstick on, boy.
There's an Emmerdale actor.
Right, bloody hell.
Jackie, yeah.
Jackie, fantastic. Jackie! That was when he got shot, wasn't it? Jackie! Oh, God.
In terms of depiction of suicide...
Oh, that's it's absolutely
I've never
tragic,
seen anything. Yeah. It's just the saddest.
Yeah.
It's so.
It's a panic afterwards. That's
isn't it?
bit.
Yeah.
I think that the saddest bit about that is the scene before, for me, when he goes into the canteen and you think he's about to say something to Carlin. He's about to and you think if Carlin knows, he'll go and sort all this out. But then Carlin just walks off, and then because of that, what happens next is a horrible scene.
Yeah,
it's just such a.
But I mean, things like what happened in the potting shed, or as it did get called when we were at school. It was called the botting shed. Yeah. So which obviously is very politically incorrect, by the way. But that was in the 80s when we did say things like that, and it was quite acceptable.
It's a hard watch.
It's a very hard watch. I mean,
one place with top trumps of movies. We've seen this happen. Obviously, Shawshank Redemption, American History X. You have these horrific scenes. I think it's one of the worst I've ever seen.
Completely.
And I think it's
so graphic.
Yeah, it's the guys doing it. The one that
Frank from Hellraiser.
Frank from Hellraiser. Yeah. You just see their expressions. It's wild.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely horrible. Yeah. It is. And again, I can remember as a kid seeing it, and it was just like I'd never seen anything like that in my.
Luckily, I didn't see it till the 90s. So.
Right? No, I'd seen it in the early. I mean, basically had no censorship in my household, bar porn. And
that's hilarious.
Yeah, and I was watching Carnival Holocaust at like 8-9-year-old and. 1981 or something like that. I've seen Holocaust and Ferox and Apocalypse, and I got so censorship just wasn't a.
Mine was exactly the same. I watched all the horror films when I was getting Nightmare on Elm Street, all the Halloween and Friday the 13th. But I can remember my dad had Porky's, and I put Porky's on he fell asleep on the couch, and I put it on one time, and he woke up and he said, "Oh, he's watching Porky's," and I had to turn.
No, I was allowed to.
That was the same with my kids. I'll let them watch, say, like. We started watching a couple of episodes of Walking Dead, but then 4 episodes in, there's quite gratuitous sex scene. I was like, no.
Yeah.
The undead, no problem. Absolutely.
No.
It was only just. It was literally just pornography was the big no-no, and anything else. If it was in Porky's, you name it, Party Animal, which was quite very gratuitous, to be fair. I was not a problem. You know what I mean? We had hundreds of films in the house that if it was raining, Scum was one of them, on a double bill with Scrubbers. On a pirate tape, by the way. Scrubbers were obviously seen as a bit of a female version of Scum, with Pat from EastEnders and Pat St Clement, that's it, and
sometimes it was a double bill as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, they'd show. Well, there was a Long Good Friday and Scum double bill, which I put the poster up in the group. But Scrubbers and Scum would get shown because back then films ran a lot longer on the cinema.
Yeah,
it could be out on VHS, but you'd still get it appearing on the cinema, and especially with a Scum Scrubbers because it came out a little bit after Scrubbers. And Kathy Burke was in Scrubbers as well, one of her first roles.
She was, because I think I was doing an interview with her and she was talking about it.
That's quite a hard-hitting film as well. It's from the woman's point of view. Actually, that's one of the spoiler. That's one of the trailers. I'm sure. We'll put this out afterwards, so it doesn't matter, anyways. Yeah. But Scrubbers is one of the trailers I'm putting on the start of Scum. It's it's VHS quality. But I think it needs to be on there.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? To let people know that this film exists and see some of the actors who are in it.
Yeah.
And that's why the whole Carlisle Cult Cinema Club is, just to put a lot of these films out there and let people see them. And so more about Scum. Back again, we digressed. And what was you saying there, Caroline? Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, interesting. I've watched it a number of times, and it's brilliant. Of course, there's only one female character. It's a boy's boy, forced for obvious reasons. You got the matron.
Yeah, and when she's talking to that black lad, and she treats Candy like his dog. That's
my goodness.
Is Candy your dog or something?
Yeah.
No, it's my wife.
And I desperately wanted her to help them.
Yeah.
As we saw, the staff did very little. She was bound by law.
Yeah.
She wouldn't. And what was it he says? Could you refer to us by our Christian names, by our first names?
Yeah.
Not a number. And she's
Yeah.
like, I can't do that.
That's it.
That was devastating.
But that's what they were, a number.
Yeah.
That's why they had to say their number. Supposedly, whenever they were presented with a screw, they were supposed to, if they were spoke to, they had to give their name and number.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I was trying to think of films that you could say were relatable to or heavily influenced by, and there's nothing that really kind of like.
No, I mean obviously there was Scrubbers, but I mean the Americans had a few like Bad Boys with Sean Penn and stuff like that. Yeah. They had a few kind of delinquent.
Yes,
because that's what they'd call them. Yeah. They were delinquents. They were just bad boys. They were delinquents. Yeah. The Americans had a few of those lads in Borstal military school. Yeah, sometimes as well, taps and that kind of thing. I'm trying to think if there was.
The only British one I could think of is there was a recent one with Jack O'Connell in.
Starred Up.
That's the only I could think of.
Yeah, but that look at the time from. And I can't think of. It's a long time. I'm trying to think. And obviously, here collective knowledge on films is quite good, isn't it?
And I was trying to think this at work today.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
My friend at work did say there's an American version of Scum called Dog Pound, which is apparently a pretty similar to the storyline. But I've not watched it. But,
right.
Yeah, they did their own version.
I've not seen Dog Pound. To be fair, no, I've not. Not heard. Yeah, I'll probably possibly give that a watch. Actually,
I'm sure it won't be as good, but
they never are as good, are they? Really?
I think Scum's his favourite film. The guy at work I was talking to, when he's been to the pub and he gets back, he puts Scum on. That's a dark way of finishing.
That's a very dark way.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. Really, to be fair, bit of Scum on,
especially the way it finishes.
Oh my goodness!
That is, honestly, imagine if for a set piece, that's brilliant. That like the final fight and and you're like, if that goes wrong, filming that.
Yeah.
When they all kick off.
Yeah.
But the bleakest ending.
That final scene. Sorry.
I
was just you think that they're gonna win.
Yeah.
Are you rooting for them?
I did. Yeah.
Goodness me.
And then just that final shot, and you're just like, that's
interesting.
Credits roll.
But I mean, again, my train of bloody thought. Because I had something in my head there and then I said to Carlisle, go ahead, and it's gone from my head. And I can't bloody think. It's just completely gone. That was it. Scum obviously didn't have really a soundtrack. There's no music in. There's a little bit on the radio, but that's about it. So obviously I played Long Good Friday theme tune. There's nothing I can really play. So from about the time it was out, the specials and gangsters. So. Right, so that was the Specials and Gangsters. So we're back and we're going to be talking about Dog Soldiers. Neil Marshall's British werewolf movie, 2002, I think it was. Greatest British werewolf movie ever made, let's be honest. There's been a few British...
Werewolf in London, yeah.
That wasn't British, it's American. That was American money, American director, American writer. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? American Werewolf in London is, the...
Yeah.
And then The Howling for me, then Dog Soldiers. Because obviously...
werewolf movie?
Yeah, Company Wolves. Well, it was Red Riding Hood's story. That was the werewolf part in it, which is a great film.
Yeah, I do love it.
You know what I mean? It is a very, very, very good film, again, Company Wolves. Neil Marshall, who lived in Carlisle at the time when he made the movie.
Really?
I'm not sure. I think it was Chatsworth. Someone said Dalston. Someone's mentioned Chatsworth Square area. So I don't know exactly where. But I'll ask him. I'll ask him because the other thing is, the other thing is obviously with the Carlisle Cult Cinema Club, we're showing Dog Soldiers on the 13th of October. Or we will have shown Dog Soldiers. Sorry, when this goes out.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great film. It is brilliant.
Really well.
Yeah, brilliant film. And Neil Marshall is doing a video introduction. And here's chose the trailers before the movie. I was being a bit of a chancy bastard, and I sent him a message, and I had met him when he lived in Carlisle, so I kind of, and such a nice guy. He got back to us with, it said great poster, and then a quote from Scum, where's your tool? To which I had to reply, this fucking what fucking tool? Sorry. And we had a little conversation, and Neil's doing a video to introduce his movie Dog Soldiers, which we're now going to have a little discussion about, because I'm sure we've all seen it multiple times. To me, it felt like the first time I seen The Evil Dead.
Wow.
It had that kind of, because, when I seen it, I hadn't really seen the trailer for it.
Yeah. It
was just the premise, the name, and that's what I liked about back then, really. And even though it was 2002, it still had, you could go into a cinema and watch a film you hadn't seen, because we went on YouTube watching trailers all the time. I, for one, didn't have a computer or a smartphone back then.
I was going to say to you, I don't think you had the internet.
No, so you weren't, unless you'd seen the trailer on the cinema or something you'd seen, or maybe a VHS. Went in just on the premise. Didn't even know at the time that the guy was living in that Neil Marshall was living in and around Carlisle, and just thought it was a fantastic thing. Just had that kind of visceral, like The Evil Dead. That again, it's that that Assault on Precinct, which is one of the trailers. The trailers that he's asked us to show actually are Zulu, so you can see.
We'll talk about it in the film, don't we?
Yeah. Well, it is talked about in the film, so you can see the influences.
It turns into Zulu, doesn't it?
Well, it does. Yeah, that's it. Assault on Precinct 13, which again, people trapped in a small area. Yeah. Night of the Living Dead again, done that so well, as well. Then American Werewolf in London, you can see the werewolf story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without American Werewolf in London, we talked about this on the radio the other month. We showed it in November. It was the group choice. It was voted, and that was the pick. Brilliant film, absolutely fantastic. It was nice to see it on the big screen. Never seen it on the big screen before, so it was nice to see it on the big screen. A lot of the films that were shown, I've not actually seen on the big screen before, because I was either too young or just one of those, you just missed it. But most of the, obviously, Labyrinth I'd seen on the big screen, and but so I was just a little bit too young for. So it's nice to get to put these films on and introduce a lot of people to the
Dog Soldiers will actually be the first one that I'll have seen at the cinema before.
Right.
See it,
yeah. So I'd seen Dog Soldiers on the cinema as well.
That's a really magic thing for you to say, that you had the same reaction that you did when you saw Evil Dead. When a movie does that, that's the magic right there. And I can't really pinpoint what it is. Neil Marshall, obviously, shout at me if I keep comparing it to The Descent, okay? Because I'm a huge Descent fan.
Great, absolutely
I'm going to try and not
film.
compare it, because I think...
Well, they're a very different movie in a way.
Different. I think Descent edges it for me over Dog Soldiers, I think. But yeah, but he's so good. I love in all my horrors when you see the monster late.
Yeah.
I think you see it later in The Descent.
Yeah. It's hinted to, like Jaws. Jaws is...
that was my kind of influences, like Predator.
Well, Predator's another of the trailers is one
Jaws,
I'm showing.
Don't show them everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. That's
Aliens
it.
as well.
Yeah, Alien. Yeah. It's that old dark house kind of.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The creaking floor.
It's like costs and stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, as we talked about in the radio show, the thing with the shark is because it didn't bloody work.
Yeah.
Well, it would have been in it a lot more and probably wouldn't have had the same impact as a movie.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, Ridley Scott went in and said, "So what's the alien look like?" And he went, "Oh, okay, well, we're not going to have to show the alien very much."
And then the aliens become such an iconic design, and that people want to see actually more of it now, whereas originally it was show less. Dan O'Bannon done and Walter Hill on the Alien work. Obviously Dan O'Bannon, Return of the Living Dead, great movie. Got to have a mention. But yeah, Dog Soldiers, absolutely best British werewolf. And don't forget, we've had some good werewolf films in Britain. The Hammer ones with Oliver Reed.
Oh,
yes.
Legend of the Werewolf as well with Peter Cushing. And
I would say the werewolves in this are probably the best.
Without a doubt.
I wouldn't even say better than American Werewolf.
Yeah. When you see, I'll agree with Paul there. The transformation, amazing. But when you actually see the werewolf, but again, it was a thing of its time. It was the best of that, and it was good. And we all thought, fucking hell, American Werewolf. But yeah, you're right. Dog Soldiers werewolves out werewolf the American Werewolves werewolf. There's a lot of werewolves there, but we got round it. But no,
a nice nod to them with the yellow eyes. The bright eyes. A nod to American Werewolf.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was blokes on stilts.
Yeah.
That's how they got that.
You never see that the feet; they're all sitting behind beds or tables.
Yeah, that's it. They were like on these stilts, which is absolutely. I mean, the practical effect so much better than CGI. Let's be honest. Let's have a quick on the old CGI versus practical. I'd go practical every time.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's only to tidy up a little bit.
I agree. Use CG sparingly. The blood should always be practical because CG blood looks shit.
And especially in HD.
Oh, yeah. It looks like a computer game, and that's what the big thing is.
But the worst example of that, I don't know if anyone's ever seen the prequel to The Thing. If you watch the documentary making of it,
it was all practical. Everything was practical.
Amazing monsters.
And then the studio went, nah, let's CGI the fuck out of it.
Absolute waste.
And it would have been a better film because the stuff would have looked real. And I mean, I don't mind the Thing prequel.
Yeah, I don't either. I enjoyed it.
I mean, you can see the attention to detail they've taken from the original Thing.
The axe on the wall.
Everything about it. The suit, everything is just. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, right up to leads right into
the first movie. Yeah, exactly. But I still love the original, black and white one.
Oh, the
Thing from Another World. Absolutely brilliant. But we're digressing again, people.
You're digressing.
Well, yeah, it's me who digresses a lot. I do. I go off on two little. I do apologise, but hey.
He also, he does pander to great famous tropes you mentioned, like Stuck in a House.
Yeah.
The zombie movies. One of my absolute favourite things, The Thing, is a perfect example of this. Most zombie movies, when you don't know who's been infected.
Yeah.
And that's so brilliant.
Yeah.
How great is Liam Cunningham?
Absolutely fantastic. He's a bastard in it, though. He's an absolute bastard in it.
Davos Seaworth.
It's like, it's the Have You
Neil
Been
Marshall
Bit?
Directed Blackwater, which was Davos his biggest
one, wasn't it?
You can see the influence, not as much in that. There's another episode, the episode called Watchers on the Wall, and it's all about pre-battle, like all the Night Watch talking to each other. Yeah. And I was just watching it last night. I was like, my God, you can just see it. His fingerprints all the way through. So brilliant.
Is that Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
I've not. The Game of Thrones is something I've not.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can watch, and let's be honest, I watch a shitload of films and a little bit of TV.
Stop watching everything else and watch Game of Thrones.
I know. I just, maybe one day we'll get round to seeing it.
A lot of it now.
Yeah, there is a lot of it, but I've got so much I need to catch up on it. But I need to watch all the films because I'm doing doing research for this, for the radio show, and then doing this film club. So I'm getting away with a lot of watching films. It's great. But back to Neil Marshall, obviously. Yeah, he's directed some really good TV as well, hasn't he?
Yeah. He's in
Westworld and Lost in Space, yeah. And obviously he's now doing Hellboy.
Yeah.
Which the trailer will be due soon.
Yeah.
I think it's January.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward. I like Hellboy as a character, so I'm looking forward to seeing a new. Well, who knows? Because there's been very little apart from a picture of David Harbour.
Because everybody was like, "Oh, you can't remake it." And then they showed that picture, like, "Oh, you can."
You can, yeah. Because everyone was like, "It's got to be him." Why does it have to be him?
Yeah.
I really like the new makeup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The old makeup is maybe a little bit more cartoony. The Ron Perlman makeup looks a bit more, maybe a bit more comic booky, a bit more cartoony. Yeah. And I think this is a bit more kind of, a little bit more like the original drawings to a degree. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Neil Marshall does with that. But let's go back to Dog Soldiers again, because we keep going off onto these tangents. But
how would you react if I said I would describe it as a comedy horror?
Yeah. Completely, especially the stuff with them lads and they're hitting them with the pans and it's just hilarious.
Yeah. I hope I give you the shit.
Yeah, that's it. It's just some great lines. It's absolutely funny as fuck.
Yeah.
I've got It's a horror comedy.
They're not going to fit.
They're not going to fit, and then the soup glued up, which we all know was a battle wounds. That's what soup glue started off as. So. Nice use, and the whole thing with missing the most important night of the lives with the England match.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, fantastic. And I can remember there was something I did see back in the day, and it was the take on the army advert.
You're right.
Do you know? And it was like 2 men or 6 men. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
Snarling werewolves. I can't remember the full. You know what I mean? It's just. You know the army advert I'm talking about, where it say, "What would you do? You're a squad of 6 men. You're on your own. You're in the middle of the Highlands. There's a snarling beast after you." You know what I mean? Can you remember them adverts that used to be on? And there was a one for dog soldiers like that. I can remember that.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And it's very, very funny.
Yeah,
very, very funny.
It's definitely very tongue in cheek. Because I think when you were saying comparing it to Descent, I think Descent was more straight horror, whereas I think this was horror with a tongue in cheek kind of Evil Dead-esque.
Or definitely Evil Dead 2. You can see Evil Dead 2. There's an influence there as well.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And because he's dealing with werewolves. The acting has to be that good to make it convincing, because it's so it's zombies. I mean, if you're going to make it's werewolves, the acting elevates it to not just naff, because they're so good and funny.
Sean Pertwee is absolutely fantastic in it.
Brilliant.
You know what I mean?
Anything he's been.
Yeah, he's a great actor. Yeah. You know what I mean? Blue Juice. If you've never seen Blue Juice with him in and Ewan McGregor, that's worth watching. Catherine Zeta-Jones. And there's a few other great British kind of actors who came up.
But again, a great cast, same as Scum. You know, British cast. Yeah.
That's it.
Tommy, so good.
Kevin McKidd.
Yeah.
He's just such a good actor.
Yeah. Do you know who was originally cast for that role?
It was Jason Statham. Yeah. He was originally cast, but
pulled out on the day that he turned up and just went, nah, just pulled out.
Wasn't there a reason he was making something?
He was making.
Was it Mean Machine?
No, it was. What was it? It was one of his early ones, and I can't remember what it was. That's going to get me now.
Snatch?
No.
Not that good.
I read this today.
Was it been Rock and Roll? No, not Rock and Roll.
Transporter.
Or Crank or something like that.
It was 2002. I'm thinking what it might have been, Statham.
Yeah.
That he was making over that.
Kevin McKidd was in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin McKidd's a great actor. Could you ever see Small Faces with him in? Malky Johnson and all that. That was a Brit came out in the 90s. Young lads. It was one of the lads. One of the young lads had been in like Grange Hill and stuff like that. It was set in the Gorbals in Glasgow, and Kevin McKidd was like the big gangster. Yeah. You know, the one who kind of run all the kids and all that kind of thing. As went on back then, and fantastic from Small Faces. Find It, Kevin McKidd, brilliant film.
I haven't just IMDb'd this, but it was Ghosts of Mars.
Ghosts of Mars, there we go.
Yes.
John Carpenter.
John Carpenter, who obviously influenced.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's definitely.
To be honest, Ghosts of Mars, it gets slated a bit, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's just one of those kind of. It's not a classic Carpenter film.
No,
it's fun.
But it's kind of a little bit of a kind of Assault on Precinct 13 rehash to be.
I suppose
to a degree.
No,
it's a similar film to Dog Soldiers. It's instead of werewolves, it's Ghosts of Mars.
Yeah.
You know.
I do want to just shout out, obviously, to your dear friend Neil Marshall and my feminist perspective. Like, he writes wonderful woman roles.
He does.
His female parts. She obviously then he did The Descent, which is an awesome feminist movie.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Megan, Emma Cleesby, I was like, I love her. Is she from Cumbria?
Is she?
Yeah.
Right.
Apparently,
right.
She's great in it, but what a great part, and her funny lines before it all kicks off.
Yeah.
It's the time of the month. But he writes great women, and obviously I'm a big fan of that.
And don't forget that big reveal. Do you know what I mean? When they're always here.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? And that step back and they're behind it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That whole sequence. That's fantastic, and it looks brilliant. The werewolves and you kind of just go, oh shit. And then when you start thinking back in your head, and you go, oh yeah, she was obviously not the one in the photographs because she was taking the photographs, and you just, you bastard, and fantastic,
Great twist.
Yeah, brilliant twist.
Yeah, definitely.
There was supposed to be a sequel.
Yeah.
Fresh Meat.
Yeah. A TV show.
It was a TV show, right?
No, as well. There was
right.
That, and then focusing on the real team that was supposed to be the.
That was it. That was I was Dog Soldiers Red was something that got mentioned as well.
Probably not really made it.
It's a cracking film. It's one of those that really shouldn't be touched.
Yeah.
Neil Marshall done a kind of fucking sterling job on it, and
you could tell there was a certain amount of budget to it, but it didn't look like it was on like any kind of shoestring. But there was a lot of explosions that must have cost a bit.
Yes.
I think some miniatures as well. When I watched the barn the cottage getting blown up. But
again, mostly.
Practical.
You can't beat
miniature. Yeah.
That's it. So we're going to finish talking about Dog Soldiers with a little bit of Warren Zevon when I can get this up, and obviously Werewolves of London.
Through the streets of Soho in the rain, he was looking for the place called Lee Ho Fooks. Gonna get a big dish of beef chow mein. Ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo, ahoo, werewolves of London. Howling around your kitchen door. You better not let him in. Little old lady got mutilated late last night. Werewolves of London again. Ahoo, werewolves of London. Hairy-handed gent who ran amok in Kent. Lately he's been overheard in Mayfair. better stay away from him. He'll rip your lungs out, Jim. I'd like to meet his tailor. Ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo, ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo. Well, I saw Lon Chaney walking with the Queen, doing the werewolves of London. I saw Lon Chaney Jr. walking with the Queen, doing the werewolves of London. I saw a werewolf drinking a pina colada at Trader Vic's. His hair was perfect. Werewolves of London. Draw blood. Werewolves of London.
Right, so that's just coming out of Warren's Eve on Werewolves of London. And speaking of werewolves, we're going to talk about some of the stuff that's coming up. And we're showing Teen Wolf on the 27th of October. And I'm sure we've all seen Teen Wolf. My lisp's coming out really badly, so I do apologise. I do try and hold it in.
Not nice.
No, I do though. He notices it sometimes. Teen Wolf was shown that on the 27th of October in aid of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. And
were you see that guy at the end as well? Was he pulls his pants down in the crowd? Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, in Teen Wolf. Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking, where's he going there? A minute, pulling his pants down. Yeah, he does that. Yeah, there's a few.
That was a little nod to look out for.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a very parent PG film.
Yeah,
and there's a naked bloke giving it big old licks if you can spot him. For all the parents out there, not for the kids, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, just for the parents, one for the mums and dads. So Teen Wolf, Michael J. Fox, was it 85? 85? Was filmed before Back to the Future, but released afterwards, because obviously originally Michael J. Fox wasn't going to be playing Marty McFly. It was Eric Stoltz, even though he was the original choice. He was doing Family Ties and couldn't get away. With Stoltz had filmed a chunk of it, and
he's still in it in one scene.
Yeah,
Gets punched.
That's right. That's right. So Michael J. Fox couldn't get out of Family Ties.
Yeah,
it chose Eric Stoltz.
That's why most of it's filmed at night, apparently, because he filmed Back to the Future at night. Family Ties.
That's right. So in his off time, he'd filmed Teen Wolf. And then the studio, the weekends. He was busy boy. He was also in Class of '84, which we didn't get a chance to talk about in the school ones, which I was boiling about.
That would have been good.
I wrote a bit. Class of '84 is a great film. Roddy McDowell. We all liked a bit of Roddy McDowell. Fright Night and all the Planet of the Apes movies. Yeah. But so Teen Wolf, he made that film and didn't really like it. That's why he never came back for the sequel. And they tried to get him back, but he was too big a star by then.
Poor man's Judd Nelson back, I can't remember.
Styles, they got Styles back. And they got Jason Bateman to play his cousin. And instead of basketball, it was boxing. And his dad turned up in it. And Chubbs from the film turns up in it. And Styles is there. And lass who played John, I can't remember her name, John Cusack's mother in Better Off Dead, who was in True Grit, that's it. Who Oscar nominated or won an Oscar for that. So there was, but Teen Wolf, great film.
Yeah.
You know, so much, such fun, and we all wanted to get on top of Van and surf like a werewolf.
Yeah. Oh, that's one of the things I was looking out for when they remade the TV show. I was like, I've not seen any. I was like, I bet there's no Styles in it. I bet there's no Booth.
No, there's none of that. I've never seen this. When I realised they were doing kind of this serious version, I was like, but what's the point in that? Teen Wolf's comedy? Can you remember the cartoon?
Yeah.
The cartoon was terribly good.
What about that? Yeah.
Terribly good. I mean, the Back to the Future one as well. They've done as well. Bill and Ted, yeah, that period. They seem to turn any kind of into a Saturday morning cartoon. Fonz and the Happy Days Gang.
I used to go up at like 6 in the morning on Saturday morning to tape Bill and Ted.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, brilliant.
Where?
Which I'm hoping to one day get around to put them both, especially with the third one hopefully happening. Teen Wolf was again. It was that kind of. I think we mentioned it briefly on the radio show when we were talking about school films set at school.
Yes.
But we didn't get to cover the kind of more horror genre and fantasy set school ones, which there was obviously quite a lot of as well. So we're showing Teen Wolf on the 27th. That's in the afternoons. The afternoon, should I say, about 2 o'clock, with the film going on about 2:30. That's for the families. And that's for the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. And then going into the night, we're showing the absolute classic slasher movie, Halloween.
There we go.
John Carpenter's Halloween, which was the one that kind of kick-started the 80s revolution, but it wasn't really the first slasher film. There'd been, even going back to the silent era, there'd been films that kind of alluded to that.
Chainsaw before.
Yeah, 74. Black Christmas was kind of one of the early ones, but Mario Bava with Bloodbath and stuff like that, and it was along that lines. Mario Bava, everybody go out, watch Mario Bava movies, I advise you, because just fantastic. If you like horror film and you haven't watched the Mario Bava film, then go and lock yourself in a darkened room with a box set. You will be well impressed, because the man influenced a lot of horror films.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
The faceless mask of Michael Myers, wasn't that inspired by him?
It was William Shatner. Shatner mask. I'm not sure. Possibly. Alien, Planet of the Vampires was a big influence. Planet of the Vampires influenced Alien big time. That was Bava. And quite a lot of his, just fantastic. And obviously his son went on and done Demons and stuff like that. But Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween,
classic.
Brilliant soundtrack by John Carpenter. Like we've done the radio show, he wrote the theme tune, played the theme tune, wrote the film, directed the film, probably played the shape in a couple of parts for all we know.
That soundtrack influences like modern film, like It Follows. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but that soundtrack is directly influenced from Halloween.
It Follows. I thought It Follows was quite a good film. It was interesting.
Yeah,
it was a nice take on that whole kind of. It was quite a different horror film with the transmitted disease, and there was this spook, and it was basically transmitted. I thought that was quite clever.
Even down to like the lettering. That's all.
Yeah,
like, that fonts Stranger Things now.
Yeah,
I mean?
Very. And you can, obviously there's the sequels as well. They just seem to go on forever and ever. To be fair, I quite enjoyed all the sequels. And I love first
remakes.
I've never seen them.
First one's alright.
No, I've got them sitting up there on the Scream Factory box set.
Yeah,
and I've never watched them. I've even got the work print, which is supposedly better. I've never watched it. I have these things, but I've not watched it. I've got no interest in watching it.
Yeah.
I like Rob Zombie, don't get us wrong. House of a Thousand Corpses. Devil's Rejects and all that. El Super Beasto.
Yeah.
Don't mind a bit of Rob Zombie.
White Zombie.
But, a bit of White Zombie and that. But I just didn't get why they needed to remake. They could have done another sequel. I'd have accepted that.
I think it was just of the time, wasn't it? Where everything
was getting rebooted, and they made some shit ones. I've not seen the Elm Street.
I was going to say there's about 15 Texas Chainsaw Massacres.
They just keep cranking them out.
I don't know what that one was called. It was on Netflix the other day. It was meant to be
Leatherface.
Yes, that was it. Yeah,
I watched that.
The original run. I mean, Texas Chainsaw, Texas 2, the third one, and the one with Matthew McConaughey and Renée Zellweger.
Next Generation.
Next Generation. They're quite happy with them. They're all mental in different parts and worth a watch. The original remake wasn't too bad, a Texas Chainsaw. But after that, I think it just became a retread. With the Texas. There's only so much you can, with a chainsaw wielding.
And this new sequel to Halloween's forgetting about everything, isn't it?
Forgetting about everything, even 2, which surprised me because obviously Carpenter was heavily involved.
Yeah.
And they do there's claim that Carpenter obviously directed parts of 2.
Yeah.
After the studio says we need this, we need that.
Yeah.
But that's why, because I always really enjoyed 2. I thought 2 was a nice sequel because obviously it was the next day, and I thought it was a nice sequel. 3, I think 3 is a great film, standing on its own. I mean, the original,
the masks are in the trailer.
Yeah, the masks are in the trailer. But the original thoughts on when you first started making the Halloween films were every Halloween it was going to be a different story. An anthology. Halloween was just going to be the title, and then Carpenter was going to make a different Halloween film every year. Hence, Season of the Witch was the one without Michael Myers. But when people went to see it, they were like, "Where the fuck's Michael Myers?"
Yeah,
and
I did since you first time watched it.
Right. See, I really like Halloween 3. A movie on its own. I think it's a great movie, and it's the original idea what the Halloween films were supposed to be about. A different film, but Michael Myers took off, which is understandable because some of the stuff in it was just, it was the washing scene. Joy's standing amongst the washing, the drying water.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And it's daylight as well, which is freaky.
Well, there's a lot of it set in daylight.
Yeah.
So I like it that when they filmed it, it was autumn, so they had to paint the leaves and the grass. Start to paint all together green.
Cool. They did not carry on camping as well, I think, didn't they? To paint the mud green to get the effect.
That is commitment. Can I just say a disclaimer? I was talking rubbish. I was trying to think of Eyes Without a Face.
Right.
That inspired the Michael Myers mask.
Right, there we go. Just like The Man Who Laughed inspired the Joker. There we go. Conrad Veidt, I think it is, yeah. Halloween. What is everybody else's thoughts on the sequels? I take it we've all seen them.
I haven't seen them all.
I've seen probably 2, maybe 3, but the rest of them.
Right,
same here. I've seen 2 and 3. I may have seen H2O. Is it H2O you call it?
Yeah.
Yes.
When Jamie Lee Curtis came back.
Oh, that was more of a sequel to the second.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of a sequel to the to the second one, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The H2O, and that was Kevin Williamson who brought back the slasher film to a degree with the Scream films and I Know You Did Last Summer, which were both great entries into the slasher kind of thing, which we're going to be talking about on the radio.
Ahead of Halloween. Absolutely. Halloween special.
Are we doing that the Friday before?
I think it'll be most likely the
Friday before. I think that'll be the better time to do it. Yeah. So the Friday before, obviously Halloween, everybody listen to Carlisle show, 2 o'clock till 5, BBC Radio Cumbria. It was a cracking show.
Bless
Absolutely fantastic show.
I'll pay you later.
No, it's no problem at all. So Halloween. The sequel, 4 and 5 were quite good because they followed, obviously, it was supposedly Michael's niece.
Yeah.
Played by a girl who was actually in the Rob Zombie ones as well, Danielle.
Westbrook.
No, it wasn't Westbrook because she was snorting too much cocaine. That'd be just that. She's scary on her own, man. You wouldn't need Michael Myers. I can't think of the lass's name, but she was good. She was in Roseanne and stuff like that. She's good at actors. She's still doing things, and she's a bit of a scream queen now. And I think she was actually in that Scream Queens thing with the TV show that Jamie Lee Curtis did, which was a slasher thing on MTV. Yeah. So I haven't watched it, to be fair, myself. There's just too much to watch and you can't watch everything. Yeah. But the Halloween films were, again, I've seen them. 8 was a bit ropey with Busta Rhymes doing Kung Fu on Michael Myers. That's the 8th one.
I didn't realise they got to 8.
Yeah, they got to 8 and then they done the... I liked 6. 6 was the whole, you got the Man in Black, because he was introduced in kind of part 5. Right. It went on to 6 and it was the whole... The fawn and the little tattoo on there. The curse, yeah. Paul Rudd was in 6. The producer's cut is the best version to watch because that was what it should have been. It does play. The original version plays a little bit kind of a bit jarring sometimes, but the producer's cut it runs a bit smoothly and introduces bits and bobs. Jamie, who was the Danielle, I can't think of his name's character, is now a little bit older and she's a baby, and Michael Sacrifice and the Man in Black and druids and all that kind of thing. So it kind of tries to explain, giving more of a supernatural bent with the Halloween things. Mustafa Akkad produced, and I quite enjoyed them. They were a staple of the 80s, which a lot of slasher films were, to be fair, weren't they?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what slasher films is everybody's?
Nightmare on Elm Street's always been my favourite. That was one of the first horror. Well, The Thing was the first one I ever watched, and then Nightmare on Elm Street's the first one I ever watched all the way through when I was a kid. And that's probably still. I can't say I'm the biggest slasher movie fan. I enjoy dipping in and out of them, but the only ones that I've ever kind of stuck with all the way through have been the Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, I've seen the first 3 Halloweens. I've seen the Friday the 13th up to a point. But Nightmare on Elm Street's always my go-to. And Freddy Krueger.
Are you an Elm Street fan, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, just really the first one. And maybe part 3, but the rest
Part 3 was excellent.
Yeah, I just kind of...
I mean, part 2 was that whole... it was a gay analogy of coming out.
Yeah, and it was just rushed. And it was rushed.
Yeah. But it's still, looking back... At the time, I was kind of a bit with part 2. I was like, oh, God. Looking back on it, I appreciate 2 more now.
Yeah.
I think Dream Warriors is quite good as well.
3 was excellent, It goes with me 1, 3, and then 6. 6 was quite good. When they brought it, it was the screen take on it basically.
New Nightmare.
Yeah, New Nightmare.
Yeah.
Sorry, 7 that was. 7, not 6. 6 was the one where Johnny Depp came back and Roseanne was in it.
Freddy's dead.
Yeah, it's in 3D.
Yeah,
that's it. So
it's always been Freddy Krueger for me.
Yeah,
but it's funny, we talked about this. How horror movies, them and clearly the Fast and the Furious franchise are the only ones that can go so long.
Yeah.
For me, it's Freddy because he is so tongue in cheek. Whereas Michael Myers, it goes Freddy, Jason, Michael.
Right.
I think Freddy as well for a technical makeup. Everything is like.
But you're forgetting. Iconic, I mean, Hellraiser became the. It is especially as it went on, became more of a slasher style film.
I was going to say that. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have said slasher, but as you say, as it went on,
especially the part 3 was very much of the slasher tropes. Wisecracking. He was throwing out wisecracks left, right, and centre.
The early ones were that's very much supernatural kind of element to them, which I probably resonated with more than a traditional slasher. Which I think why I like Nightmare on Elm Street, because there is a big supernatural element to it that's really shoved in your face to a certain extent. And even though there is with Halloween, because I think John Carpenter said Michael Myers was never meant to be a real person, he was just meant to be this force of nature.
Exactly.
But it's not kind of thrown in your face, and maybe I like that supernatural element thrown in my face.
That's fair. Yeah.
But slashers for me, because obviously growing up in the 80s and being a horror freak like I was, I love the slasher film because it's all about the kill. Yeah. All about the kill. I mean, stuff like The Burning, which hopefully I'm going to get to show one day. Yeah. Which is, that was a British guy, I think, who directed that.
Like I lived in video shops in the 80s.
Yeah, I think we all did.
Not that I can remember seeing the films, but I remember seeing the posters.
Yeah. Or the cover of the video.
Yeah. Like, no, I'm watching that.
I wouldn't see. My dad was hiring them, so me being me was like, I need to see this film. I mean, first VHS ever seen was Zombie Flesh Eaters, Zombie Dawn of the Dead. Sorry, came home, and there it was, Zombie Dawn of the Dead, and it just started, and I was mesmerised.
Yeah.
And the effects and everything like that, and that was the first kind of, I suppose, modern horror film I'd ever seen. Because before that, it was
all
Universal and Hammer and Tygon and Amicus and that kind of.
Yeah. That's the same, because I think the first modern horror film I saw was The Thing. It was my parents recorded it off the TV, and I watched it, and I was just used to the old traditional Hammer films that we've seen. I was expecting it to be something like that. Yeah. So I watched it, was terrified, and I lived in the countryside, and on Monday I went to primary school, and everyone had to draw a painting of what they'd done at the weekend, and I was in like infants.
Yeah.
And everybody else in a rural school drew pictures of butterflies and them on the back of the dad's tractors. I drew a picture of the scene in The Thing where the head comes off and turns into a spider, and there's blood everywhere. So on the wall of the school, there was all these pictures of butterflies, and then my picture.
And then the social souls.
What did yours have been watching, mind you? But that was like,
yeah.
Did someone just shout that?
No.
All right, it's just me shouting in my own head then.
Just the voices.
Yeah, it's just the voices are coming to take me away. Yeah, I mean, I wrote some weird stuff when I was a kid, and that's because of the stuff I was watching. And God knows what the teachers must have thought.
We need to talk about Paul.
Yeah.
But I've always said this. Horror nerds like us, they're always the most delightful people in real life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're always just the nicest people.
Eli Roth's a lovely guy.
Yeah.
He makes such kind of
twisted. Yes, absolutely. It's funny you mentioned sort of like the first VHS that you saw, because you've got a poster. By the way, we're in like Paul's man cave, and it's insane. So we're just surrounded by posters. But Videovision, we had a Videovision back up in rural Scotland, where I'm from. But the front that I was obsessed with was Stephen King's It, obviously the Tim Curry.
Yeah.
I remember being obsessed. I'd go to Videovision and look at it because it scared me so much.
Yourself, did you?
Yes, it's really scary because it was Tim Curry, and then do you remember the hands were scary?
Yeah.
He had like scary hands, and the kids were at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I was just obsessed, and me and my sisters would look at it and kind of dare each other to pick it up.
Well, I'd read, I can't remember what it was, but I'd read it at the time when that was coming out, and it was name dropping Brian Hitch.
Yeah.
He'd lent me it.
Yeah.
Because Paul knows he lived a couple of doors down for us.
Oh, nice.
Drew us into comic books and had some artwork that, let's just say that went bye-bye a long time ago. And he obviously redesigned the TARDIS and stuff like that, didn't he? When the Doctor Who came back, and he was the ultimate who the Marvel Universe is
basically
based on.
I was responsible for the look of the Marvel Universe.
He lent me the It book, and I'd read that, and then it was announced that they were doing the TV two part. I thought it was great, bar obviously the ending, the spider bit was a bit shit.
Yeah.
That's what let it down for me.
Yeah.
Everything else was great apart from that ending. It was just like, well, I don't like the book.
Yeah. Oh, is it not? I've never read the book, so is it a different ending?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
I'm so obsessed with
spoilers for a new one.
I haven't, just I've got it on Steelbook.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it yet. Haven't sat down and watched it. It's just,
I love it. I've seen it about 3 times now.
Right. Again, it's just one of those. It's. I know it's there to be watched, but there's other films that I just are more important for us to watch before it.
Yeah.
So one day I'll get round and watch it. But saying that, I'll probably put something on that I've seen 1,000 times, as we all
the original
do.
Version of it.
Yeah, I watched it instead, which I have on Steelbook as well. But yeah, so one day I'll get round to see it. But what was the first VHS you can remember hiring then as a kid then, Paul?
I can remember seeing Orca the Killer Whale. The
Jaws rip-off with Richard Harris. With that Irish accent.
Brilliant.
Which Richard Harris should be able to do a proper Irish accent.
Exactly.
But that Irish accent he puts on in that film, it's nearly as bad as thing from Mary Poppins doing the Cockney accent, Dick Van Dyke's Cockney accent. But I've got Orca on Blu-ray. It is a fantastic watch still to this day.
Bonkers.
And it is, you're right, bonkers.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it was the Jaws rip-off, but it reminds me of similarities to Wolfen.
Right, that's it.
No, with Wolfen's a great film, Albert Finney and that. Yeah, some similarities to that in a way.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of filmed, but Orca the Killer Whale, what a choice, Paul. First VHS, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And then
what about
Scarfly?
First VHS, what would that be? It was probably it would have been a kid's film. It's probably something like The Goonies or something, I would say.
Right.
I've got that on. No, I'll tell you actually what it was. It was Ghostbusters.
Yeah, nice, great film. I remember going to the cinema. But I mean, we're obviously of the age where we got to see the likes of Ghostbusters and Gremlins and
Ghostbusters. I remember breaking my foot and hiring Goonies for the whole 6 weeks I was off.
Yeah.
Just watched it every day.
Have you ever seen the scene that they sometimes show on Channel 5? The octopus scene. It appeared on Channel 5 a couple of times, and it very rarely pops up. You can buy boots of it, but the octopus scene.
I don't know if I've ever seen it.
Channel 5 have showed it a couple of times, haven't they? because there is cuts out there with it cutting on Channel 5, obviously. Usually when it's shown on Channel 5, it's the octopus scene. Sometimes it isn't, but I don't know why that is, but there we go. And well, obviously, for me, it was Dawn of the Dead. That was the, hence it being joint top with the Evil Dead. Zack Snyder version, which I didn't mind.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
To be fair, it was. I don't like running zombies though. I think a running zombie is just a piece of shit. A zombie,
the point.
A zombie should be shambling. It's all about the numbers. It's the numbers that get you.
Sometimes a cost saver as well, isn't it? You need 10 of them and they could run.
Yeah.
10 is slow and you just walk around.
I suppose that's it. But it's the whole 28 days later debate. Zombies or not zombies. They're not zombies. They're infected. Yeah. They weren't dead. They didn't die. They got infected with a virus that turned them fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, for me, it's the slow zombies, and it is because they're slow, but they're relentless.
Exactly.
That's the terrifying thing.
Yeah, and the silence.
I like the World War Z. I'm pretty sure says book over the film.
Yeah, because it was just a different kettle of fish completely. They're supposed to be doing a sequel to that coming out, and Brad Pitt's going to be in it. And
I didn't mind the film. I didn't think it was brilliant. I don't think I'll watch it again, but.
I've watched it a couple of times. I didn't mind it, and I didn't mind the whole, the survival of the fittest thing. You had to be, if you had a disease, they weren't going to touch you. They wanted, so everyone was fit who was infected with whatever the zombie virus was.
It's not in the book.
No, it's not in the book.
There was something that I did enjoy that bit where on the subject of slow, fast zombies. The bit in World War Z where they just start piling up on the wall. Is it like Israel or somewhere like that? They're just piling on top of each other again and again and again. That's kind of a combination of fast and relentless zombies. Kind of. I think that's quite a scary kind of image.
Anybody ever talking about zombies? The Dead, which was a modern zombie film set in Africa. It felt very kind of zombie flesh eaters vibe to it. Brilliant. It's modern.
Watch the one with Martin.
Cargo. The short. I've not watched the Martin Freeman, but the short I'd seen, obviously. And when I heard they'd made it into a film, I thought I'll have to see that. I've got it to watch. It's obviously on Netflix there, but
it's not traditional kind of. It's more like kind of what was that Arnold Schwarzenegger one?
That was really good.
It's not showing. It's not the zombies versus someone. It's more the kind of what's happening. What's happening in the world.
It's we showed Dawn of the Dead obviously last year, and the day after Romero died, which was just very sad. But it's marvellous the influence he has had over the zombie genre completely.
Huge.
You know what I mean? And but yet some of these modern zombie fans dislike Romero, and you just think, are you stupid?
Well, I mean, what most people view as being a traditional zombie is kind of his designed in his image.
Exactly, and he was, such a. I mean, even his non-zombie films were just fantastic. I mean,
even like the biggest show on the planet, Walking Dead, they're all slow zombies.
Yeah, and
Greg Nicotera's in charge.
Yeah, and they've showed like Dawn of the Dead zombies in it. He's made people up to look like the Dawn of the Dead zombies as a direct reference.
Even those aren't
zombie flesh eaters, so I mean, Walking Dead's another. I got the first 2 seasons watched. I started seeing Kerry, and just life starts taking over, and
a lot of good and bad.
I've never seen it. So we'll bring this to a close. And for the evening, I think it's been a cracking night. So this is the first one. I think this will probably be appearing on YouTube very soon after a bit of tinkering and things. But I'd like to thank everybody. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
And I hope you've enjoyed yourselves as much as I have.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming around and doing this with us, and I really appreciate it. And I look forward to the next one. So I'd like to say good night to everybody. I hope to see you at the Carlisle Cult Cinema Club's events, as we've mentioned, what's coming up. And also the Harrowby Community Theatre puts on stuff as well, which is always worth a look at. So thank you all very much, and good night.
Bye.
Good night, John boy.
I was down to zero, still an unsung hero, waiting for my ship to come ashore. I stood empty-handed, like a seagull stranded, watching all the other seagulls soar. I was slowly losing hope, twisting frayed ends of a rope in a suicidal fantasy. I was going to extremes, losing sight of all my dreams again. I never thought I'd win. I was blinded by the pain, running wild through the rain in a parody of ecstasy. I was inches from the edge, fingers clinging to the ledge again. I never thought I'd win. I'm not the fool everyone expects to play me for. I could change the pattern, steal a ring from Saturn, forge myself into a man of war. I'm equal to the task, I won't hide behind the mask. What you see is what you'll get from me. I'm stronger than they think. They can force me to the brink again, but now I know I will. Win in the end. I'm gonna win in the end. Win in the end. I'm gonna win in the end. I'll still the thunder rolling out from under every cloud that's clashing in the sky. Like a true defender, I will not surrender. Why should I lie down for them and die? I am equal to the task, I won't hide behind the mask. What you see is what you'll get from me. I'm stronger than they think. They can force me to the brink again, but now I know I will.